in Melbourne at least, the game design industry has had its ups and downs, but it's focusing on this idea of the mainstream. What are most people doing, and who existed outside of that mainstream narrative? So a few years back, most of the games that Australia was producing were franchises and outsourced titles. And we had big studios that were making really cool games, but we weren't seeing this huge explosion of independent makers like we are now. That changed when a lot of the studios crashed and closed shop, and we now see the fertile ground leading to a particular expression of independent makers. But that movement has also been codified. So we now see a particular definition of independent game maker, one that doesn't necessarily include everyone who is making something. It's a definition that doesn't include everyone, which is fine. What's difficult is we don't have other words for these people who are making experiences. So, a great example of this is the fact that when people were first discovering that they could make games for themselves or independently, most of the games that they were making conformed to a history or pattern of success. So in the early days, that was very much Half-Brick. Fruit Ninja was a huge success in mobile, huge success in mobile, and you could see a huge, effect on what people were making as a result. People were trying to catch that casual audience, trying to create casual experiences that mimicked that success. And that's not to say that everyone was doing that. That's just kind of a dominant theme. That question of metrics of success and what people find inspiring to them is of utmost importance. Because if you only care about making money as your primary goal, then the kind of things that you're going to create are limited by that. And you don't get to explore what you might have created under different modes of expression. Now, by itself, that pursuit is not wrong or unethical, particularly if you're taking care to improve the industry through a network of people. If you're trying to take care of people themselves, that's a really great thing to do. It does become a problem if it's monolithic, if that's the only thing that is happening in a community. So the assumption that that's the correct way to do things is damaging. There's a whole host of different modes of creating, and they're not yet all explored. And so I want to see greater experimentation with studio forms and cultures, and who gets to make things, and how people organize themselves. And they might fail, and that's okay as well. But the important thing is having a plurality and diversity of these creation formats. There's other tensions as well. I mean, I could be really blunt and say there's a huge problem with co-opting. There's a problem when there are people who are getting a whole bunch of resources in the form of money or attention or media understanding, which is helped by the fact that there's already an existing framework and vocabulary. And the assumption that this is what video games are in their entirety means that people who are making things on the fringe don't get benefited by those structures. They don't get the same access to resources, to having their voices amplified. And that's really bad, because then everything looks the same and you get homogeneity of some description. It's also really interesting looking at how that process occurs.